All right. Hey, everybody. Happy Monday. Really excited to give you some powerful thought. I love my Mary Kay business because I've been able to be around people who help me shift my thinking. And that's really what my dear friend Vincent is all about. Um, he did not want me to do big accolades, but I'm just going to tell you, I love his thinking and I love that he challenges me to always consider, am I being my best in my current situation? So that's really what tonight is all about. And I look forward to hearing your feedback and, of course, working tonight with Vincent. So I'm going to shift over here and just give a little snaps because we're muted, but just do like this as I introduce my friend Vincent to you. He is a corporate trainer. He has a lot of accolades. Okay, don't know what just happened. Hold on. Left corner? Right there. Okay, sorry guys, I lost everyone. Okay, so Vincent is just brilliant. He and my husband were in grad school at Cornell University, and it's just been a joy to have him. He's almost like my third son, and he's sort of a big brother to all of my kids. So I'm going to turn it over immediately, but I did want to give one quick reminder, which is Joanna had said there is no call on Memorial Day. So we have the weekend to celebrate with our family, and we will, of course, be back the following week. So with no further ado, you guys help me have a couple of snaps in the air for Mr. Vincent.
So let's keep it like a talk show style.
Oh, talk show. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we're going to do talk show. Can y'all hear us if we talk at a conversational tone? Oh, look at that. Okay, so when you're on camera, you get really hot, so I can take off my sweater.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Vince. Vincent, either way is fine. I want to say hi. So if any of you want to draw my attention, I can see everyone. So just like give me like a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you don't like something. Perfect. And what I'm going to do because of the style that we're communicating in is I'll have natural breaks in the conversation that you guys can engage. What I'm going to ask if you can, as the rules of engagement, is either like raise your hand or give me like a, some sort of sign with your hands if you want to ask a question. And that way I can go through kind of address each of you if you guys have specific questions and then go from there. And I kind of roughly have an idea of the questions that will spring up, and that's on purpose. That in mind, I'm going to kick it off and go from there. So before we begin today's topic, we're going to discuss a number of things. I know we only have an hour, so I'm trying to get through as much as I can, but my focus is more on a good rep rather than number of sets, so meaning the working out component that Andrea and I have been talking a lot about. It's been focusing on making sure that when we do a rep, it's a perfect rep rather than looking and focusing on how many reps we do, because that's a lot of bad reps don't actually make it healthy and don't actually lead to growth. So the focus would be on making sure the content, because a lot of trainers and people that you have probably worked with have been really focused on just getting through the material, and that's not the goal. So just going to give you some warnings and disclaimers of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today. Is that the thing that we're talking about is trying to get to the core points. And so everything I talk about is basically removing the social lubricants that are required to deliver messages in these conversations. And we're trying to get to the core of the issues. A lot of times we have to add pleasantries and make people feel better. I think you are all professionals and can understand that when we go through some of these methodologies, you will add those social components and those social lubricants that you have mastered with the people you are interacting with, as well as yourself and the people around you. The next thing is that as we talk through these concepts and you take your notes, do not believe me. And I say this earnestly, that I don't want you to take my word for anything, and I don't want you to feel like the information that you're provided is factual by any means. And I say this because I want you to go through and I want you to test it. In the world we currently live in, is that all the information we get, that we are overloaded with information that may be right, may be wrong, and different shades of true. And so the only way you're going to be able to confirm anything or believe anything, and should believe anything, is to test and test and test to make sure it's both actionable, repeatable, and that you get results, and you do that earnestly. I'm sure some of you have kids and have seen people who try to do something, but they do it for the sake of doing it rather than earnestly giving it effort. So what I ask you to do is that don't believe me, test it yourself and see how it works. So that's the next piece. And at the end of it is that all these truths at the end of the day is that these are methodologies. Your truths are going to be your own, and you'll find out if they work or not for you, and you apply them to the work that you're doing. So with that in mind, I'm going to kick off into a topic that you're fine. I want to kick off with a topic called knowledge versus mastery. And this is, I hinted a little bit at this before, that there's this concept that we all work through is a concept called knowledge and mastery. So all of you have gone through school and may have different education and knowledge and exposure to different things. In turn, you have knowledge of a great field of things, and with that in mind, but the question is how many things you truly master. And looking at the knowledge versus mastery piece is that we learn and we feel like we have a good understanding of things, and that falls into the knowledge category. Mastery is the ability to not only disassemble, understand the philosophies, but then also adapt them to different days of life. So Andrea did some really cool things that she didn't even realize and ended up having mastery on them within a few minutes. Like, for example, today we're talking about different exercises that for working out different body parts that we looked at. Hey, maybe the muscles aren't as strong. When we stretch, we're not only stretching the muscle, but also working the underachieving muscles that would make them stronger. So one of the things that she started applying to is like, well, are there other areas that maybe I'm overcompensating for that are weaker to try to hide that weakness instead of addressing the weakness directly? And she was not applying that just to workout, but into her relationships, to other things in her life. And so that's kind of taking the core concept and taking mastery of it to reapply it. So if you think about in school, you learn about physics and calculus, for example. In calculus, yeah, we understand numbers and what it does, but we really understand the application of calculus and how it's used. I've been very successful in my career because of my understanding of physics and calculus. I'm applying it to everything, not just your problems within the math book, but into now issues on the corporate level, on finance, all the way down to automotive, down to understanding sports, right? Today I was talking to Andrea's daughter about how to check someone in lacrosse properly and understanding the force and mass and acceleration of their movements. So breaking down the equations, it was much more focused on how do I apply that to everyday life and use what I need and eliminate anything I don't need so that I can utilize the principles. So that's the concept of knowledge versus mastery. And today our focus is trying to get you mastery on some of the things that we're talking about, much more than just a superficial knowledge. So with that in mind, I know there are people on the phone who I don't see. So so I'm going to address both the video people first, and then if anybody on the phone, just say your name, and then that way I'll address any questions. So let me take the first round of questions and thoughts, because I may not have explained everything so that everybody may understand. So if you guys have any questions, please give me a little hand raise or a palm, or just say your name on the phone. Either way.
His intro was pretty intense. So does anybody have like questions so far on what the heck is he talking about? I told you he's smart.
So if we're good, we're going to move on to the next piece. Okay.
Hold on. I am muting everybody because in the recording, it only goes on the sound of the person and we keep bouncing back and forth. So I'm going to mute and we can see you. You also have a chat button at the bottom. Just type in anything and we can unmute you at that moment. All right.
Okay, so we're going to move on to your why. I'm sure a lot of you have been asked, what's your why? And you kind of form something. And then when you have it, you start thinking through, well, what is my why? And how am I going to use this to drive my career, what I'm doing with Mary Kay, to whatever you're applying. But what happens with the why is a lot of people have used it without understanding how it's actually, what purpose it serves, as well as understanding the mechanics of what generated their why, because sometimes it's not deep enough. So one of the things that we want to look at is understanding what does it actually mean, and then how do we actually use it, and then apply it to our life in general, because our why, generally, we can have more than one. And people feel like they need only a single why. That's not the case. We have so many so many versions of ourselves, from the family side, to our professional side, to our personal side. Some people are really fortunate they can mix all of them together, but we're not all like that. So we have whys in different categories based on what we're trying to do. And so as we build that, we can go through some of that now as we identify with the why. So let's do an example of that. So, Andrea, what's your why?
Okay, in life or just Mary Kay?
That's a great question, right? You tell me, what do you want to address today?
Okay, I was not prepared for this. In Mary Kay.
In Mary Kay. So
Okay.
What's your why?
I want to provide my family with extras and be a great role model and a good example. And I want to help other women to be able to believe that they also can achieve things that they never thought they could in a business.
Why?
Ugh, everybody's looking at me. Stop looking at me. Okay, so because I feel that I was created to be a difference maker.
Okay, so you're created. So why?
Why was I created to be a difference maker? Because I can't seem to quit.
Okay. You have a drive.
Yeah.
And you feel like a different. So what kind of difference do you want to make?
I want people to be able, I guess unstoppable comes to mind because I've used that word before and it drives me crazy when people quit and don't find a way or make a way and they complain.
Okay. And when they complain, why does that bother you?
Because I feel like they could solve their problem if they wanted to.
Okay. So it's more on them now. So what can you do?
I can help them see that there is a way.
If they want to.
Yeah.
And what if they don't?
I get mad.
Okay. So but if they don't want to, what does that mean for you? Get mad.
Yeah. They don't want to, then sometimes I feel like I was not successful.
Okay. So the why that she's looking at, and she may not realize it, her why is driven by the fact that she has this capability and she wants others to do that. And one of the hardest things to realize that we can't change other people. She can't change you to be more successful. That's all driven by you. And it feels really weird to hear that, is that it frustrates her when people she works with are not doing their hardest and their potential. And there's honestly nothing she can do. There's nothing that anyone can do to change someone who don't want to do it. Therefore, you guys have to take a look at your why. Her why is what drives her is that she has an engine and it needs to do something. And so her focus is focusing on people to make them do their best, but at a certain point, that engine can only do so much, right? Your engine can only go uphill at a certain angle. And once it goes complete vertical, your engine can be as wonderful as possible. It's going to run into a wall, right? Think of that for a second, right? That angle, as it comes up, becomes a flat line in your engine. As great as it is, hits a wall. And so anything that she tries to push towards, it's really for her, and it's her drive. She wants to aim at her potential. Her why, she has added these layers and added complexities, but at the end of the day, it's her drive. The reason why she's doing this is because she's driven to. There's no endpoint. There's no final destination, which is why it's perpetual.
Which is why if I hit my immediate goal, I'm still
going.
I'm still going to go.
Right.
And I might not be satisfied. Or what a lot of people say is, I thought I'd be happier. But that's because there's still more to achieve or to help.
No, there's nothing to achieve. It's the engine. The engine is constantly
just
going.
The desire to help more or to.
Right. It's always something else next. So her why in this situation is she has a drive that needs to be satiated. That's it. There's nothing else around it.
So what you're saying is this isn't really related to Mary Kay at all. It's just like that's my vehicle.
Correct.
Okay.
Your engine is driving everything. You just happen to be in a Mary Kay Mustang, right? That's going in that direction.
Because I find there's enjoyment in what I have seen, but this has allowed me to get.
Think about all the money you raised in the lacrosse side, right? That's just a different vehicle, same drive. right? And so I challenge you to think about that for a second, is what's driving you? Because not everybody may have that same motor. You have different types of motors, and the external things like the Mary Kay piece and all the benefits are the features of the vehicle. But look at what's driving the entire engine that you're doing, right? If you hit a wall, or what the incline that you're going to be going up, maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's too much, and you have to balance those things in your life to understand what's driving you to do what you're doing today. Because as you saw, as we got through it, the things that she had mentioned in the beginning slowly fell apart. And not saying those are bad, but we've added all these complexities and have made it harder to identify what truly is the reason that make us do the things that we do. Some people want to be lazy. I'm probably the laziest person you'll ever meet, because I don't want to do any work, so I will come up with ways so that I don't have to do things, right? I never changed as a kid, right? If I can figure out how to change a channel with my toe, if you remember those old dials on the TV, and we try to reach as far as possible without having to leave the cushion, we made these long apparatus just to try to change the channel because we didn't have a remote. Yeah, that's me. I still do that. So my drive is to be as lazy as possible, but still achieve what I want to achieve without all the additional work.
I have to ask or share. I want you to share. He was talking to Paul about what your goal in college is. So what did you tell Paul?
So one of the things interesting, going through college, the question is, why do you want to go to college? His answer initially was, I want to have the college experience. So I asked him, what's the college experience? He has no idea what that actually is. He's seen movies and TVs, but at the end of the day is, well, you're going to pay $200,000 to go to college. And in that $200,000 you're going to pay, then what? And he's like, well, I want to have a family. And it's like, well, what do you need to have a family? Well, girl, obviously, and a good job. Okay. So college, at the end of the day, is to do what? Well, it's to get me a good job. Okay, what's a good job? Well, one that pays me well. All right, how much do you need? And so as we progressed through that, Paul came to the conclusion, by ripping apart all the tangentials and things that get in the way, that at the end of the day, you go to college to make money. So if you spend money, you have to make sure you make more so that it's not wasted. And so as we go through that process, his why for college is to make money at the end of the day. So everything he does needs to be focused on that. And that's not to say he's not supposed to have fun, but he has to remember his goal and then balance his life around that goal specifically.
Okay, so I'm going to pause because this is pretty deep conversation, and I know that many of you are ready for this, because otherwise you wouldn't be on. So let's just back up a second, and for everybody who's listening, I think it might be helpful if somebody does want to do a little exercise with Vincent. So I was pretty darn, authentic, and I didn't have anything rehearsed, as you can see, but I think that it's important that we start uncovering, okay, why did we start our business with Mary Kay? And that's really what this is about specifically. However, like Vincent said, you can start thinking outside other areas of your life. This is a tool, and he's going to teach more throughout the session. But why don't we take one person who might just want to, maybe you're frustrated that you don't really have a clear why, or you're a little confused. Does anybody want to role play with Vincent? And I will go ahead and unmute you. It's much more helpful if it's not just me. So imagine if this was that conversation that could give a shift in the energy behind what you're doing and why you're doing it. Would it be worth you being vulnerable? Because that is truly what this is, but yet changing your entire experience with your business. I'm sorry, who? Yay, Maggie. Okay, so let me see if I can unmute you personally. Thanks, Miss Maggie, as always.
Hi, Maggie. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful. All right. So let me, if you can speak up a little bit, let me ask you. So why do you want to look at today?
Uh-oh. You're kind of breaking up.
Why do you want to look at today?
I'm sorry. It broke
Yeah.
up.
My internet is being unstable, but it's in and out.
All right. So can you hear me now? Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. So why do you want to look at today?
I guess about my Mary Kay business.
Yes. So let's take a step back. What are you actually comfortable wanting to talk about?
it could be many different things, I guess. So
Okay.
I
So,
don't know what to choose from.
well, I don't want to pick something that you're uncomfortable with, because then I don't want you to be ingenuine with your answers. So
Yeah.
because again, my goal is not to change you. It's just to demonstrate the fact that I already know the rabbit holes you'll go down if it's not something that you're comfortable with. We can do the Mary Kay one, absolutely. But why do you want to look at in your life that you're curious about?
I guess advancing in my other career.
And what is that?
I actually just started a new job today. But I am working to help set up a genetic toxicology lab.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I just had a fun conversation with someone about that this last weekend. So, okay. So you are taking a role in a leadership role to set up a new toxicology lab. And with that in mind, you just started today, right? And I'm not too focused on the job itself, but I'm curious as to, for you, why this job?
It's actually something that I've previously done before. I've worked in genetic toxicology before, and I enjoyed it. I also just wanted a new opportunity from what I was previously doing.
Okay. And so for you, you got into it, you enjoyed it. What did you enjoy about it?
Just that it was challenging, and that, I mean, it was something that I went to school for. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
So what I hear you saying is that not only have you been preparing for a number of years for it, to gain mastery to perform it, but you also like the challenge and the puzzle of the work that you're doing. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's really great. So as you progress, so why do you stick with this field?
To be honest, because I'm comfortable.
Okay. That's interesting. So you're comfortable in what way?
In the fact that I am able to get jobs without having to do an extreme amount of extra work.
Okay. So it gives you stability.
Yeah.
And that stability allows you to, I imagine, to explore and experiment in other areas, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what I hear you saying is that you would actually be open to doing other things if it provided the same financial security, health insurance, and all that other things as well, correct?
Correct.
So if for example, you found an opportunity that probably was less work, same pay, if not more, you would be all for that.
Yes and no. I would want to make sure that it still had the same challenges. However, for me, it's kind of the big thing that even if Mary Kay were to ever equate financially to what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
I spent all those years going to school for it. It's very hard for me to let go, being still relatively fresh out of school.
Okay. So you're holding on to the fact that you put a lot of time and invested into this. And so let's say some other venture, we don't have to focus on the Mary Kay piece, some other venture, let's say doubled your stability.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's one of those things where I would want kind of the same key aspects for the reason why I switched into this current role, is I would still want those daily challenges and still want some of those benefits, but equally matching in all regards. Yeah, I would be fine with that.
Okay. So what I hear you saying a lot is that your why is that you get bored easily.
Yeah.
And so assuming that you have stability financially and health and all that, is that you need a challenge.
Correct.
And so by having a challenge, is that something not only you crave, but in fact you would forsake other opportunities if you found it boring.
Correct.
Okay. So think that for a second. Is for you, you're driven by the fact that you like situations that you figure out they're hard.
Yeah.
And so I'm guessing just based on what you're telling me is that you probably buy things and then you probably kind of just like drop them once you mastered it. And then you probably have like a mountain bike sitting in the closet somewhere that you did for a few months and you're kind of done with it. And because you figured it out, you're good at it. It's like now it's not hard enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your why, when you look at it, so tell me, now that we kind of talk about some of this, right? What's your why?
To seek a challenge.
That's really what it is. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so keep that in mind. That could be both great and detrimental to you because you could be seeking challenges for the sake of something really, really good too.
Yep.
So now that you know that about yourself, keep that in mind is that when people ask you why you're doing something, yeah, part of it is maybe the balancing act. You want to have more and more plates to spin because you can do 5, I can do 6. Well, how many can I do till I can't?
Yeah.
So just think about that. Think about the other facets of your life where you probably made things way harder for yourself because you were bored.
Yeah.
Yeah?
And being a type A personality and really wanting to excel at them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you're always looking for the next challenge. So you probably had something that was probably great and either moved on from it or let it go. It was perfect. And everybody looks at you and they're probably wondering, wow, Maggie has this great thing and she just just discarded it because, well, she was bored. How crazy is that? But that's not who you are. And there's no judgment. It's okay. But now that you know that about yourself is when you look at it, maybe the reason why you're doing Mary Kay is because you enjoy the challenge of something new for you.
Yeah.
So would that summarize roughly a good why?
Yeah, I think so.
And does that permeate into other facets that we didn't talk about in your life that now as you reflect through some of that?
Absolutely.
You're not just saying that?
No, I can think of one right off the top of my head very quickly. I went to state for violin for a solo and for a quintet, and shortly after, I really haven't touched my violin since. So, very accurate for that.
Sure. So just think and think through other facets where you're probably maybe adding a little complexity or not touching something because it is too easy, right? But I imagine not one of those people where it's too hard. You're going to figure it out one way or the other, so you do it.
Yeah.
I've been pretty successful because your type A personality to get them done, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you probably need something that aligns really well with your personality. That's something that's a little bit unpredictable, but has fair rules that you can figure out.
That's true. Yeah. But, I mean, to kind of add to this and something that makes it a little bit harder to realize as kind of my underlying why is that I have a pretty low self-esteem. So realizing that it's hard enough and that I've quote unquote accomplished it is not necessarily true.
Okay.
Or not true in my eyes.
Okay, we're going to talk about that as the next section after this.
Okay.
We're going to address that specifically. Okay. So are you good? We're gonna move on from that. You feel good?
Mm-hmm.
So what's your why?
That I like to seek a challenge.
Perfect. Nice and simple.
We make sure that people feel like they're getting a way or a methodology. I've seen sort of the target to start like you did and then move in so that they could do this on their own.
Yep.
Is that
That's the next step.
okay? Great.
I didn't know his plan.
So everybody, as we just talked, we can.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
So I can see everybody. So Maggie, thank you for volunteering. For everybody else, if you'd be so kind, if you guys have any questions on some of that, or what I will explain how we got to that, and then also kind of understand how we got to that mentality, and understand what underlying as their core concept. In fact, I can relate to some of the homework I did with Luke today. It's about factoring. How do you get to the lowest common denominator in kind of your life overall? So, any questions before we go into a little deeper dive?
Are y'all feeling like this is helpful? Getting something out of this so far? Yes?
Okay, so moving on. So when we look at their why, if you notice the way I interact with both Maggie and Andrea, the focus is asking why, obviously. And It may seem funny, but in everything from Six Sigma to Lean, we look at our why, but we keep asking why. And when we do that, we have to actively listen. When I say actively listen, is that there's a concept that may be a little controversial that I'd like you to think about, is that everybody lies. This concept will be kind of a running theme, is that, and I don't say this in a malicious way, is that everybody has turned their truths, they have turned it, and they have made them different shades, make them persuasive. When they make it outbound, they try to make it as pleasant as possible, and in doing so, they bias the message. And when that happens, when you bias the message, it loses its actual potency and its purpose. So keeping that in mind, you have to remember everybody lies. And in turn, to figure that out is that you have to ask them deeper and deeper questions to understand both what they actually mean and what they're actually versus what they're actually saying. And you can tell by what they mean by their actions and the things that and the way they're answering. So Maggie was really simple because the focus for me was not the words she was using, but the actions, like the job she chose, why she chose that job, and then looking at what she could have done instead and why she made the decisions she did. The focus there were the actions that she took. And all the actions she took were based around the challenges of it all. And so ask yourself why multiple times and get deeper and deeper to that, and looking for these small patterns in their answers, as well as what the endpoint actually is to get there, right? In Andrea's examples, you could very easily see the first part, she had lots and lots of layers. She wanted to help all these individuals, and she wanted to provide these values here, here, and here. But the question is why and why? And as we got deeper, it was an inherent drive that got her there. And we asked why until we got to basically a one-word answer, if you will, right? We did it with Maggie, and we got down after a little bit, down to a one word. She was looking for a challenge. And so as you ask why, you'll come to that reduction very, very quickly in the base of your decision-making process. And look at doing that in multiple facets so that you can actually double check your work, because maybe in one why you set that up and maybe it's different from another set. And it's hard to go through all those examples with limited time, but that's something to think about, and we can follow up on that in the future. So keep that in mind. One of the things that I didn't go with Andrea, but we did with Maggie, is a discussion about kind of your survival. At certain point, there is a point on the graph where your why is purely survival. This is most high school kids and kids coming out of college just trying to figure out how to survive. They can't articulate this, so please take a look at that, where there are individuals who are trying to work towards their survival, and that is their why, and they may not be able to communicate that. So once they have their survival set and they're looking for extra or a greater challenge, that is when the more intrinsic why comes out. So with Maggie's situation, her why, if she didn't have her toxicology job, would be, I need to work so that I can eat and survive. That is the why, but because she's able to meet that, now her why can become all-inclusive and creative.
So like Maslow.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is. And that's the basis of that. So keeping that in mind, you have to align that and be honest with yourself about the things that you're doing. And that honesty will help you be able to push through what's driving you. And there's no judgment from yourself or anyone here today. The focus is being honest with yourself of what it really is. If your goal is to make money, that's okay. You don't have to tell me, but at least be honest with yourself. What you tell others is fine, but if you start confusing the message you tell others versus what's in your heart, you're going to end up having a bad time, because you're going to be misaligned, because you won't be able to figure out what's wrong, because you're not being honest with yourself.
So let me just jump in. So that means, like, we talk a lot about sharing your why or your I story at the beginning of a party. So if you're coming into Mary Kay because you need $3,000 to make sure that you pay your child's orthodontist bill, that is totally a fine why. Or maybe it's $3,000 because you want to create a FICA number that's going to provide you with your first home. That's okay. So make sure you give yourself permission, you guys, that money's not bad, and talking about that money is not bad if it is connected with your true, authentic why. And it can change.
Like once you hit the survival point, your why will change right away. Now you can focus on other things. But at the end of the day, if your goal is to make some $3,000 for a big vacation or a honeymoon coming up, but you're telling everybody something different and your actions are not aligned with how you're actually feeling, so you're doing a lot more community service than you are for the revenue side, you're going to have a bad time because you're putting yourself out there, expending a lot of energy for no result. That's not aligned with what you want, and then you're going to burn yourself out. And so that misalignment is what I would say 98% of the world is dealing with, because they're not being honest with themselves, because they're afraid people are going to judge them. You know, I teased Andrea today. There was a mother with a child walking down the aisle crying, and we had a discussion. They're like, oh, that child was crying. And I asked her in that moment, you think she was a bad mom? And Andrea didn't even think about that, even for a second. So keep that in mind.
I said no.
She said no, but think about how many times as mothers or that, we're worried that, oh, my child's doing this and everybody's going to think I'm a bad mom. And it didn't even cross her mind at all. Right? What people think doesn't matter. So we'll stop there, ask questions, and we're going to go into the confidence section of our next discussion. Any thoughts? Raise your hand. If not, I will move very quickly on to that. Those on the phone, I'll do an aftermath at the end. Okay, let's move on to the confidence piece. And if you guys think this is all worthless, feel free to hang up. I'm A-okay with that, because that gives me feedback to know that I missed the mark with some of you. So feel free to do that, or send angry emails to Andrea. Feel free to curse at her all you like. Okay? So we're going to talk about confidence a little bit. So I'm going to ask Andrea here, so that way we don't have to do all the technical stuff, is what is confidence?
What is confidence?
You keep asking people to have it. You keep asking people to work on it. So I'm going to ask you, what is it?
The ability to follow your heart without second guessing yourself.
Are you sure?
No, I really.
So she's not confident in her answer. She's confident, right? So think about that.
Confidence is sexy.
Okay, great. So what about it?
Because they don't give a damn. I don't know.
There it is, right there. Why don't they give a damn?
Because they're confident that they do what they want to do.
No, you're using the same definition.
Oh, okay,
Why don't
because
give a
they
damn?
do what they want to. They do what they feel they need to do, or that they want to do, and they don't.
Oh, it's very confident then, based on what you're telling me.
Yeah, and they don't care about what other people think.
Right, but why?
They somehow believe that they're doing the right thing.
Okay, so stop there for a second. They believe are doing the right thing. That means a lot of the confidence and self-confidence specifically is built on the fact about action. Are you able to adapt to any situation? For example, it's dark downstairs and you don't want to go downstairs because it's scary. You have the confidence to go down there. What gives you that confidence? If I get a flashlight, I'm a lot more confident to go down. If I have a shotgun, I'm a lot more confident to go down there. The reason why is because you feel safer because you can adapt to the situation that you're about to run into. You're that belief that you can handle anything. So we go into talks like this, and we're about to go up there, and we're so nervous because we're afraid we're going to mess up what we're going to talk about. We're afraid of all these. But if you train well enough and you go into, like, you know what, if I mess up, I'm going to figure out how to do it. You will have the confidence to go up there because you can just wing it. You can fix whatever goes wrong.
Okay, so that basically what I hear you saying is, if I am nervous to hold a party, the more times I'm holding a party, then the less nervous I get.
That is a method to get you there.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
If you're nervous about having a party, why are you nervous?
So I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Right there, because you're afraid of an error.
Right.
So there's a concept of calling failing forward, which is, we'll talk about in a moment. But if you have an error, can you fix that error?
Yes.
In the spot?
Yes.
So why worry?
Because we're supposed to do it right.
But if you fix it, you did it fine, right? You're able to fix it. So
True.
Right. So like, for example, I'm gonna give you a. So who likes? Actually, this is really hard. So I'm gonna ask you. You like handwritten notes?
Uh-huh.
So when you write them, how much effort and time do you put in to make sure that you don't use with a pen to do it?
I actually write it separately on another piece of paper, and then I transfer it over.
Right. And you put a lot of diligence into that, right?
Yeah.
And you still go back and forth and check it, right?
Yeah.
On your laptop, when you're typing up a note to someone, you just slam it out?
Yeah, sometimes.
And why?
I don't have time.
Right? And then if you made a mistake, what do you do?
Oops, I'm sorry. I made a mistake.
As you're typing it.
I delete or backspace. And then correct.
And no one ever knows, right?
No one ever knows.
right? So the amount of effort and diligence you put into that because you can't fix that mistake is where fear comes in. It's where you get nervous. Okay, I'm writing this. I have to take the extra time and effort because if I mess up, there's no going back. You have to just restart from the beginning, which is not a big deal in that scenario. You have to restart. But in that moment, you're like, I can't mess this up. And that's where fear comes from. If you're confident, if you mess up, I'll fix it. No big deal. And the people who are self-confident, they can handle any problem that comes up. And keep that in mind. They think they can handle any problem. So that some confidence, as you probably have seen in a lot of people, comes from ignorance as well. It's not just from capability.
So I guess I'm confused too. So if you're saying to somebody, how do I build my confidence?
We're not there yet.
Okay, that's where, okay.
The question,
Jumping ahead.
Right. The focus of the question is, what is confidence?
Yeah.
We need to be able to vocalize what confidence is if we're going to tell other people to have it.
Okay.
Right? It's the same thing as, I mean, you probably have worked in the workplace. People say, hey, people don't respect me, but they can't define what respect is. So how can they ever be satisfied with getting respect?
Can't define it.
They can't define it. So there's no metric for them to ever be happy with the respect they ask for.
Okay, so what's the definition of confidence?
So the definition of confidence is your ability to adapt any situation.
Okay.
So Maggie, if she goes on her first day on the job, but she's already done this work for the last number of years, as she had talked about, she goes in with a lot of confidence because she knows she's probably seen everything, right? Thumbs up? Thumbs up, right? So when you got out of school and went for your first job, were you confident? Thumbs down, thumbs down. Thumbs down? Yeah. But now she has experience, she can go in because she can handle any challenge that comes up. That gives her confidence. And that's where confidence comes from.
Okay.
So how do you build confidence is the next question. And it's really, really easy. Because like we talked about, confidence comes from two areas. It comes from capability, and the other one comes from ignorance.
Wait a minute. So the other day I said, you got to be too dumb to doubt.
Yep.
Okay, so somebody said, how can I do that?
Mm-hmm.
Great, touched on that one.
Yeah, so what's really interesting is that you can utilize each one, and people may not tell you this, but you can utilize each one based on what you need. You know, kids are incredibly confident. You know why? Because they're completely ignorant of the consequences, and they will do it. I have seen lots of kids come down Black Diamond ski hills because they don't know it hurts, right? I've seen a lot of adults come down Black Diamond and they don't have any confidence because they can't fix the error they mess up coming down the hill. So keep that in mind. So how to get confidence is become capable,
okay,
or let go of the consequences and just spin in the wind and see how it goes.
Okay.
Because once it happens, you'll get the experience to then become capable.
So if we're worried about how we're going to look to our friends because we just became an entrepreneur and this Mary Kay and I was a tomboy and I don't even like people, and now everybody, I have to be nice to them. So you put that aside.
So let's go with an example. If someone bashes you for doing Mary Kay, they say, oh, this is
I went to
dumb.
college. I can't believe you're doing this.
Yep, I can't believe you're doing this. You don't make enough money. Everybody makes fun of me. I don't like the stuff. Well, in that situation, when you speak to them, where does your confidence come from in that moment?
The fact that I haven't maybe had success personally.
No.
Oh.
Your confidence should come from the fact that you are driven, period. It doesn't matter.
Oh, going back to my why.
Going back to your why. So Maggie, in your situation, if someone stops you and says what you're doing is stupid, it's even more reason for you to do that, isn't there? Thumbs up? Because it's another challenge for you, right? And you think about it, your confidence comes from the fact that you are capable to identify your why, and no one else is ever going to change that for you.
Okay, so I become more confident because I know my capability.
Correct.
And that's an internal, and I can hold on to what I really know inside.
Correct. No one is going to change that. Because if you think about this, if your confidence is based on someone else telling you nice things about you, and that person gets hit by a bus, your confidence is gone with the bus.
Dang.
You can't have your confidence ever rely on somebody else. It has to always be internal unto you. Someone can bash you and say all the terrible things in the world to you. At the end of the day, you didn't lose any weight. You didn't lose any muscle. You're not scarred physically. You haven't changed. You've let them and accepted that. And you're the gatekeeper to that.
So this is so powerful. I mean, I'm taking this in so many areas of my life. I always apply it to Mary Kay, but I mean, for a woman who is being verbally abused or in a situation where, I mean, this is huge. Okay, great.
So keep this in mind, though. There is a balance piece, because once you have this ability to deflect people, you have to balance your ego versus your humility, because some people may have a point and you are being an asshole. So keep that in mind. And take feedback as you get it. At the end of the day, you'll see the consequence, because if you keep going down this route, people won't want to work with you, and that consequence you'll see. So learn to balance that, and as people are giving you feedback, don't take it all in, but evaluate and understand where it's coming from. Are they doing it because they're trying to tear you down, because they want you to be not confident so that they can proceed ahead of you? Or are they saying it because they actually care and they're worried about how it's affecting other people? Right? And mind you, their perspective may be wrong. They may be soft, and they're afraid of conflict. But at the end of the day, if you are confident in what you're doing and you know it's right to be right, do you.
Okay, so some people are not confident about their decision to have started Mary Kay.
I get that.
So, and they're listening to husbands or people saying, when are you going to ever make money on this? And so help me understand the ignorance part and maybe incorporate that example.
Sure. So give me an actual, so someone has started Mary Kay.
And they're not confident that they actually did the right thing.
Right.
They made the right decision.
But take a step back. They stepped forward and did it.
Yes.
Right? But
yes.
they don't know they have the capabilities of that ignorance. They don't know what the aftermath is. And that's okay.
Okay. So what do they do in that moment? If they're like, is there anything I can do? Because I'm feeling that my confidence is going to go down if she quits.
Well, part of that is capability now. How do you take ignorance and capability? And this is a great segue into failing forward.
Okay.
I hosted a hospital CEO event for women in healthcare leadership last month. And one of the greatest takeaways that came from that is not being afraid to fail.
Okay.
Because failing is how we grow, and failing is how we learn. If you remember how we did mathematics and multiplication and writing our alphabet, how many times did all of you write that crazy gray paper with the blue lines, your E's and your S's? Did you get it right the first time? No. The second time? No. It was almost 100, 150 times. And we failed a bunch. What was great in that situation, that there were very limited consequences so that we can keep trying.
Okay.
So can you fail, minimize the consequences so that you can learn from those actions? Sometimes you have to fail big, and you'll remember that for the rest of your life.
Okay.
And that's okay. Don't kill anybody, but
okay.
keep that in mind, is that failing is okay, and failing is a part of life. My life has been a coalescence of failures. I was planning to be pre-med, and that went to hell during the MCAT when I decided not to be a doctor anymore, and I had to pivot. And it's okay. I am more successful, I feel like, now than I was before. And so failing creates the capability that you need to go forward in confidence.
And so I hear a lot of people say, you know, I don't get on the phone and I don't make the calls because I'm afraid of them saying no. This is the same thing. That's a form of failure. They're in their mind, right?
Well, no, because the test for them in that one is not the phone call. Is not the answer. The test for them is, can you make the phone call? You can't control the other side.
Right.
You lose more games you don't swing at, or you lose more bats than you. I lost it now. The point is that if you don't take the swing, you're never going to win.
Right.
And so for her, the win is not the yes. The win for her is making the phone call.
Which we talk a lot about. Just do your 10 dials, and you start to repetitively over time. You're going to build up so much momentum, but confidence.
Right.
Okay.
Because what happens is that you learn that, hey, when you make a phone call and someone hangs up on you, are you any less of a person at that moment?
No.
Are you financially impacted then? Are you out paying dollars because now you have a cell phone? You don't have that long distance charge anymore.
No, I'm not.
Is your house on fire afterwards?
No.
Are you weaker now from that?
No.
So what happened to you after that? No.
I moved on.
Right, but it physically anything
No,
changed?
no.
Nothing happened. So all you're doing is making a phone call, and if they answer, you made a new friend. If not, nothing has happened to you.
Okay.
So your failure, minimal loss, your ego's hurt, but what is your ego at that point? Right? Would you rather be the person who who took the step forward and made the call, or would you rather be the person who couldn't even pick up the phone? I'd rather be the person who made the phone call.
Okay, great. Okay.
So
we have about,
I have to go get Luke,
Okay.
so he's going to keep talking. He might just go over about 5 minutes, but I will be back.
I can finish pretty quick. Okay.
Okay.
So,
you got to get to the list where everybody takes that.
so moving on from that is fear of failure is what's going to cause you to lose control. People who ski downhill, the reason why they're afraid is because they go too fast. And when they go too fast, it's because they don't know how to stop. The pizza and French fry thing is the worst way to teach people how to ski, from my opinion. But as you go through everything in your life, is look at, are you afraid of doing something because you have lost control? And that is where confidence really, you can start looking at building your confidence from that perspective. So with that in mind, I guess the bottom line is to build your confidence, trust in yourself, and you can handle any situation that comes up, period. Because if you don't, you're going to figure it out one way or the other. And the only endpoint where it is the end is if you die. And at that point, it's do or die.
It's too late anyway.
Yep.
Okay.
And at that point, it doesn't even matter. So, and I say that both facetiously and whatnot, that most of you don't ever run into life-threatening situations. So at that point, if nothing's life-threatening, nothing really matters at that point.
So we need to start being more ignorant and just enjoy what could come.
Mhm.
Okay. Get to that part that's so powerful with the impact versus.
Sure. So one of the things I want to teach on, and this is going to be really hard because I don't know if you can see me, is
let me
a
give you a better.
discussion on how do you prioritize all your ideas and activities now that you understand your why, and as you build your confidence to do these things. Because now we have to figure out how do you allocate your time properly, because you have so limited. You know, and I keep picking on Maggie because she volunteered, and I will continue picking on her because I know the most about her at the moment is, well, Maggie has a 40-hour or maybe 50-hour a week job. It's relatively new, so she's putting a lot of time in. Well, that leaves X amount of time for working out, taking care of her dog, as well as any other, fun friend relationships that she may have, and maintaining those. And then, I've already listed a number of things. I just got to Mary Kay. So how much time do you actually have to do all those things? And start trying to figure out how to prioritize some of those concepts. So with that in mind, we're going to the next module, and I'm going to take a volunteer if anybody is interested. I'm also open to the same volunteer again as well. So anybody want to volunteer? Amy, is that you with your hand, or are you just waving at me? All right, Maggie, we're going to try to get Amy to do this, okay? All right. All right. Can you hear me, Amy? Amy, can you say something now?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So Amy, I would like you to do me a favor, and feel free, all of you, to write this down. I'm going to try to write it here so you guys can see it. It might be very, very difficult to see. So can you name, maybe let's go with 4 or 5 things that you're working on, or at least have on your mind that you want to achieve, or tasks or goals that you're trying to do?
Okay, so I want to be debt-free, which means financial freedom for my family.
Can you say that again, please? Louder.
I'm working on being debt-free, which means
Okay.
financial freedom for my family.
So debt-free, okay. What else?
Extras too, that the extras for our kids that we wouldn't have had.
Can you
The
speak of
extras.
the
Yeah.
extras?
Does this
The
help?
extras?
The extras. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep. So can I call that amenities?
Yes.
Okay. What else?
And we need to remodel our house. So,
Okay.
all the extras.
Well, that's a big thing in itself. Okay. One more or 2 more.
And more time to work that all in.
Okay, so that's not going to happen. I can't do that. I'm not a wizard.
Okay. I think that's about it.
So those three things?
Yeah.
How about more time with your daughter?
That would be good.
Okay. That would be good. You're iffy on that?
No, that would be good.
Okay.
More time to enjoy them. I'll say it that way.
Okay. Oh, you have more than one. Well, you
have-
keep asking for more time. I can't give you that. I literally
I have
can't.
3 children. 3 children.
Okay, you have 3. Okay. So we got 4 things. Okay. So let me ask you, for your being debt free, what's the effort for you to do that on a scale of 1 through 10? Effort.
10.
10. Okay. So to then fund your amenities, what's the effort for that?
10.
10. Okay. How about the house remodel?
That's about an 8
8. Okay.
right now.
Okay. And then more time with your kids?
A 10.
A 10. Okay. So we're gonna have to go back and redo 10. What the most effort actually means to you, because just defaulting to 10 is not the correct way to, because it's going to be a scale, right? Because obviously some things are way more effort than the other.
Okay. So kids
Mhm.
be 10.
Kids would be 10. Okay.
Or family and kids. And then debt free would have to be a 9.
You think spending more time with your family is harder than trying to earn enough money to pay off your debt?
We do that a little bit together.
Okay.
So, but it's just as equally important.
I'm not asking for importance. I'm talking about the amount of personal effort you have to put into it, how much stress where you're up at night trying to do X, Y, Z. Basically, the amount of time you're using to eat away at each of these things.
Okay, then that's number 1.
One more
It
time?
would have to be 10.
That would be 10?
That would have to be number 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then more time with your daughter or your kids?
Right. Would have to be like a 9.
9. Okay. And then amenities?
I would say 7.
7. Okay. And then the house remodel?
We'll put that at 5.
At 5. Okay. Okay. And so I want you to go through this, and I want you to think the impact to you. Okay. So if by achieving this on a scale of 1 through 10, how meaningful it'll be? What are the benefits to you? So focusing on your amenities.
Yeah, it would still be about 5.
Would be about 5. Would you be that much happier with it?
Yeah,
Okay. And then the house remodel?
I would say 5.
5 also?
If we can go, yeah.
Okay. And then more time with your daughter?
That's still 9.
Still a 9? So
Yeah.
so 9 9. Okay. So a 9. Okay. And that's gonna have the most impact. Okay. And then being debt free?
It's 10.
Okay. So if you wrote these down, everybody else, if you did not, I wrote it down as well. It's a little messy, so I apologize. So this is what you kind of have written down. And you see the numbers on the side. And so what I'm going to do, and we'll do another one after this. So Maggie, you'll have your shot. Give me 1 second here, and I will get you there. And keep in mind, Amy, there's no judgment on this whatsoever, okay? because no one can tell you how to live your life, all right? So I want you to take a look at what I did. I mapped this out onto a graph, if you can kind of see it. So a lot of everything that she's working on are in this upper quadrant here, which is what we call the hard to achieve column. It's not impossible, they're very, very important things. You had nothing in kind of this lower quadrant, which are the easy wins, and then up here, which is the low effort, high impact kind of, we're gonna do these to build confidence, everything in this category. And I apologize for everybody on the phone. Hopefully you can watch the video on this portion of it. And then in this last column here are the things that we throw away. So luckily, Amy, you had nothing in that category, so that was really fantastic. But I am worried for you because everything that you picked are in the incredibly hard to achieve category, which are not impossible, but they take a lot of time and effort, right? And as you weigh this out, what makes the most sense based on kind of what you're talking about is to achieve the smaller items first, because those are going to give you the confidence to be able to get here. And some of these are temporal, right? At the end of the day, you won't have more time.
I know.
And
You have to learn
so,
how to maximize.
right. I would though look at the impact of your debt versus your time with your daughter. And this, for me, looking at it, is the impact with more time with your daughter is going to last the rest of her life as well as yours. So that's going to go on potentially for 80 to 100 plus years. Where your debt, I mean, not to be morbid, will kind of end with your life. So when you look at the impact and weigh that, what's going to be a greater impact? The time with your daughter is going to be much, much more important, or your kids, right? And I'm not disqualifying how important it is, but when you kind of weigh it out, if you had an extra hour, what would you rather be doing?
Spending it with my kids.
Right?
Right.
So that's and that's why we do this. So I'm going to do one more so that we can do another example. So I know I'm going to put you on mute, Amy. I know Maggie, you wanted to jump in, so we'll do that. All right, hi Maggie. All right, you have 4 or 5 activities and things that you want to do.
Yes. Work on my personal development and self-esteem.
Okay.
Working on my health and fitness.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a personal one. Favorite of mine. Okay.
Strengthening my relationships.
Okay.
Excelling at my job.
Okay. I'm gonna call that career.
Okay. And earning extra fun money.
Okay. Okay. So let's go with self-esteem. What would be the amount of effort to work on that, do you think?
For me, probably an 8.
Really? Why?
I feel like I have a lot of room for improvement.
But that's not what I'm asking you.
I don't know, I guess.
What's going to be harder for you? I'm curious on a scale from 1 through 10. If you had to do, let's say 100 push-ups right now, versus just looking at your confidence and trying to figure out where you feel the most capable.
Actually, probably the push-ups.
The push-ups, right? The push-ups are probably going to go towards a 10, right? In terms of effort.
For me, that's kind of hit or miss.
Sure, but I'm trying to just establish a scale for you to better, because otherwise everything's going to be a 10, and that's not going to help you, right?
No, I mean, not necessarily. I would say, self-esteem and personal development would be around an 8.
Okay.
I would say fitness would probably be a 5. I mean, I have made some good choices there. As far as relationships,
okay.
I would say probably a 4.
Okay.
With the career effort now, I'm probably 7, 8.
Okay.
And then earning extra cash, I would probably say A 6.
Okay. And so let's go back from the top, and you have a nice diversity of things. Because I personally feel like you can get the self-esteem in terms of effort, probably about a 2 or 3, personally.
Okay.
Right? Because you have all the components you need to do it inside you already. And in reality, it's not like you have to work it out. I feel like working out is going to be way harder because not only do you have to get dressed, go to where you're going to work out, and then do the reps properly, and then also maintain your nutrition and all that. I think for me, my personal experience, the effort for me is like a 10. There's so many components to do that.
Yeah.
Right? So and again, I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm just trying to help you figure out what the scale amount of hours it takes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if I include meal planning with nutrition.
Oh, yeah. I think Andrea and I were at the gym this morning. I think we burned through an hour like it was nothing. We did, 4 workouts maybe? Mm-hmm. And we were out of time. And then I went back for a second set this afternoon, right? For me, and again, I'm not trying to change your mind, but I feel like so that you don't cheat yourself in that discussion, that it's a lot of effort.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess I'd say 3 for self-esteem.
Okay.
And 8 for fitness.
Okay.
I don't remember what I said for the other one.
Relationships with 4 that I have, careers of 7 and 6. I think those are all absolutely fine, right? Because you look at the number of hours it takes for each one. The self-esteem is 3 hours a week. Personal fitness is going to be 8 hours a week, for example. And that's a good way to use that scale potentially. But it's always going to be different based on the person, okay? That magnitude. And you can use this exercise as often as you want and with, many, many things. So the next one is looking at the impact. So if you're able to improve your self-esteem, what's the impact of that?
A 10.
I agree. All right. How about your personal fitness?
I guess a 6.
I agree. Yeah, that's right. Because if you don't do it, you're fine, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. And your relationships?
I would say a 10.
Why?
I think making a conscious effort to really work on relationships. I think that's kind of what life's about.
Sure, but let's say you do those relationships. What do they benefit you? What do they give you?
Love and happiness.
And at the end of the day, that's all fantastic. But if you didn't have this certain friend, would you be okay?
Well, I was thinking more my husband, and no, I wouldn't be. But
sure, no, I think that's fine. But balance that because that's a big piece. And I'm challenging you not to question you. It's just really think about that. Is in terms of impact. Do you think by having more self-esteem, maybe that relationship would be further empowered? Because if everything's a 10, it becomes really hard to look at what's really important.
Yeah. I mean, let's say an 8.
Okay. How about your career?
Probably like a 5.
Are you sure? Okay. Why do you say 5? You weren't confident about that.
I mean, I don't feel like my career necessarily has a worldly impact.
Okay.
I mean, it does on my survivability.
Absolutely, it does.
So, I mean, I guess I should probably say 9.
Okay, that's fine. That's why we do this. Perfect, right? And it's impact to you. So that's a great analysis, right? This is an impact to my survival, so it's very important.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So how about the extra cash?
Probably a 5.
Why?
Because it's for things that are not necessary.
Just by saying that, 5 means it's necessary, right? On a scale of math, right? You're facing 5. So try again. Pick a different number that means not necessary.
A 3.
A 3. Okay. But do you see why I'm trying to challenge you on that? Because people don't use scales metric properly, right?
Yeah.
Is that it all has to be in relation to each other, right? Because when you say it's a 5, that's almost, you know, half the value of your self-esteem, which is kind of crazy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So give me 1 second to map it out, and then I'll let you guys all go. Unless you guys have Q&A, and then I'm happy to do that too.
Could you talk about why this is so powerful and all?
We're getting there
Yeah.
momentarily.
And we're fine. You guys are awesome. Thanks for staying with us.
Sorry, I'm slow, guys. I apologize.
That's okay.
Okay, so this is where you come up. I know it's kind of hard to see, so I do apologize, right? And so part of the conversation. So if you look at it, and again, I apologize, I do have a full whiteboard for this, is that we took your 5 things, we mapped them out, we put effort versus impact, which are the coordinate points. X is going across and Y is going up. And we have in this bottom corner here, what we call easy wins. So when we need to build confidence, we do all the activities that tend to fall in this category first, because they're small wins that you can get every day. They don't take a lot of effort, and they feel good when you do them. And they're not too life-changing that you get overwhelmed. Up here is what we call the low-hanging fruit. These are the next set of things that we actively try to work on, because they're low effort but have huge impacts. And so this is where we need big confidence boosts. We go to this category and do these activities, because the effort's really low, but they have the biggest impact onto us that make us feel better about ourselves, as well as that could potentially be life-changing for us. And you have some really cool things in that category, which are in the 1 and 3, which is your relationship, and number 1, your self-esteem, right? And it's interesting that a lot of your things actually all feed into each other, don't they? So thank you for participating. So with that in mind, you do have some things that are hard to work on, which is your career, and number 2, your personal fitness. Those things are hard, and they're going to be hard. And those are things that, not to say not to do them, but these are things that will take a long time to work on. So instead of trying to say, hey, I want to do all this fitness stuff in 1 week, well, I know it's a lot of effort. Same thing with relationship. Instead of trying to binge it all in 1 week, well, I want to only dedicate 2 or 3 hours rather than 5 to 6 hours over a course of a week. I'm going to do 2 or 3 ongoing perpetually, rather than trying to do an enormous amount of time all in 1 week and burn yourself out. And this helps you balance some of the activities that you have in your life, so that you have greater impact and have better sustainability going forward. If you look at the number 3 category, I'm sorry, the number 5, which is the extra cash, and I know I kind of guided her towards this, the extra cash is in the category that this is just a lot of unnecessary stuff that you kind of avoid this area, because it's low impact and low effort. Sure, it's we don't have to try very hard, but why even bother doing it? It doesn't help us anything. It might actually cause more problems for us, especially if we have limited time, right? If you only have, we were trying to talk about Maggie's time, by doing this alone, if she had, her career already takes 50 hours a week, including traffic and all that, right? It takes about 50 hours a week. Then she needs to sleep. So in a course of a week, she's probably sleeping 8 times every night. So 8 times 7 is 56 hours. I'm hoping you're sleeping that much, right? It could be more. And that's not including if you're going out drinking and all that. So you already have 106 hours dedicated just to work and sleep.
And I work out for an hour every day.
What's that again, please?
I said I work out for an hour every day.
Okay, and you work out, so that's another 7. And then you add in, you probably have to eat, which probably, on average, probably takes an hour in total. And you eat 2 or 3 meals a day.
I actually eat 6.
6. And does it take an hour, or is it like half an hour each one?
No, I mean, some are like 10 minutes. So I would say probably an hour and a half total.
Per day? Okay.
Yeah.
So an hour and a half, so that's 1.5 times 7 is 10.5 hours a week, right? So you start adding all these things up. I'm already looking at 17, I'm already at 113.5 hours for you. That's just career. That's just your working out, your eating, your survival stuff, right? And you only have 168 hours a week, right? So doing that math right now, you only have 168 minus 113 is 5. You only have 55 hours left for the week, and you have to allocate that between time with self-esteem. Your personal fitness is kind of counted under your working out already. Your extra cash and your relationships, 55 hours. And so we did that by mapping it out. And Amy, the reason why we didn't do that with yours was a lot more longer term stuff. As you saw, everything was in your upper quadrant. So that's really hard to map out since, but it allows you to break what you're doing to subtasks and then doing the same thing. So with that in mind, as you look at where you're at, you can calculate roughly how much effort you're going to be putting into everything at 55 hours less per week. What do you really have time for? You can do probably 10, 12 hours for your relationship. You can probably do the rest for the extra cash. Great. But do you have time built in for yourself? Do you have time built in for random errands throughout the week? I don't even have laundry in here. I don't have all the other, grocery shopping and all that. And not to say you have to stick to this, but this kind of gives you an idea of the magnitude of what you have going on in your life, and you have to prioritize what's the most important to you. And using each of these quadrants allows you to pick on things that week, and based on what you personally need that day to work on, and based on what you need. If you're feeling low confidence that week, pull things out of the low impact, high impact, low effort areas. If you're really feeling down, just pick the low effort, low impact stuff so that it's not too overwhelming. And that helps you prioritize why you're doing certain things, right? Mary Kay can be on here as well, and that may move around based on what's going on that week. And you know what? That's okay, because it's better to take a break than to burn out.
Well, and based on time, I'm going to just jump in too, because I think that, especially as we're coming to the end here, this is a powerful moment where you have to start saying to yourself, is the effort of me being successful with Mary Kay worth the impact? And I believe truly that you can incorporate the self-esteem and the things that are relationship with what we have. So we don't want you to take this and say, oh, see, I wasn't meant for Mary Kay, I'm going to quit. But I think that what Vincent is saying is, when we can understand our why, if you are not willing to put in the effort, but you're wanting an impact, or you're wanting a result, and there's a lot of other confusion, then you could start looking at, well, where am I spinning my wheels? Can I use this matrix to see, am I really getting what I want because I'm doing enough of the effort, or maybe I'm getting myself confused. But my point is you can take your Mary Kay business and hopefully find ways to incorporate it. I found that it became my survival, because I was going to get rid of that job because I wanted to create freedom, and it was a challenge. So I'm hoping that you can take this and not say, see, I shouldn't be a Mary Kay, but you can really go deeper and become somebody that intrinsically, not just because we dangle a prize, intrinsically want to challenge yourself to build the relationships and to find ways that you personally can rise in these areas of your life and have success through the business, because there's so many things that I believe women can enjoy, even though they are different. Am I making any sense here? Okay, good.
So with that in mind, I know I didn't get a chance, but you'd like to do some Q&A, I'd be open to that. I don't really know how to function it, because I know I have some people on the phone and then on video. So I'll address the video folks first, and then on the phone, I want to be mindful of your time. Please do so. And you're welcome to email Andrea with your thoughts. I would love to have feedback from all of you. And please remember, anything I talk about here today, none of it is true. Please test everything and see if it actually works out for you. And remove and add things to your life as it works for you, because I don't know your life, and not everything may work because you have a different philosophy and approach. This is my methodology. There's a lot more that I can cover. So preliminary guides to the decision making you have in your life today.
I'm going to ask 3 of y'all to share. I know I'm getting some feedback, but I'd like 3 people to share what they got out of it, or if you have a specific question, because the methodology really helps you see, am I going in the right direction? And am I spending my time where I really want the best outcome? So who has 3 people who can thank Vincent and share specifically what you received?
Thank you very
Thank you, Joan. Go ahead.
I found it really valuable. I want to sit down and document and see where I'm at with this grid. And I was wondering, did you put sleep in there too, in that hours a week?
Sure.
8 hours of sleep a day you put in there?
Yeah, I put 7 hours in there, but you're welcome to, for you, you just modify and calculate your own day and roughly map out what you're getting, because sleep is absolutely important. I work with the University of Pennsylvania with their sleep clinic, and things about cognitive dissonance as you progress forward not having enough sleep is massive. So I think that's a huge benefit to looking at adding sleep to your list, because it is definitely needed if you're not getting enough.
Especially working nights. I work nights a lot, so yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Who else? Anybody want to thank Vincent with what you received from tonight's call? Go, Vicki.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it was I enjoyed listening to it. Yes.
What was your takeaway, Vicki?
My takeaway, just prioritizing what you do want to do in life and keep it in scale, because that's just the way I operate. And so what you were saying is kind of backing up what I think. You're going to get out what you do put into it.
Great.
Thanks, Vicki.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
I appreciate your insight. Thank you very much.
And I hope that's helpful. I know for you, we didn't do enough time because it's a big rabbit hole, but for yourself, break up what, trying to approach your debt looks like, as well as what it means to spend more time with your daughter, and break those into subtasks. Because I only stopped at 5 because of time, but you probably will end up having a list of 30 to 40 things potentially, and try to break those down to see what becomes really important. Because when you look at spending time with your children, the type of time you spend with them also changes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And also, don't always use some of these things as excuses. I think that's powerful when we start to say, is this my ego? Am I trying to maybe be liked or get something personally out of it instead of necessarily doing what's important?
Just remember
No,
your
it
why.
should be your reason.
I found the why, trying to really push. You kept pushing and pushing for that why. I found that very insightful. Instead of just accepting it, you just kept saying, but why? You kept really, you honed in on the actual, you kept going. You know what I mean? I thought that was very good. That was helpful.
Good, and keep in mind, Robin, is that, and what helps you push through that is that everybody lies. I don't mean that maliciously. Is that we tell lies to ourselves to convince ourselves,
Right.
and we end up
Very
believing,
helpful.
and that's maybe not the actual truth.
Well, thank you, everyone. I definitely hope you will take this and apply it, and we can see some progress in just your, Mary Kay, but also the other areas of your life too. So we'll look forward to being with you in 2 weeks.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.